fucking g'day mates! Today we're going to be answering the question, does my band need a third party manager? No. Okay, see you next time. Alright, completely hilarious and unique gag aside, let me break it down for you. If you're doing your job right in the band, if you're working yourself to the bone, if you're willing to put yourself through absolute torment and dismay, say farewell to your loved ones, have no money, have a band full of members that secretly resent you, then no, you don't need a third party manager. Great news, that can be you. In this video, I'll be breaking down what a manager does, and some of the things that you can do if you decide to manage your own band, and how you can go about getting the right skills and knowledge to do a half decent job at it. If you were to get a third party manager, they would do a range of things for your band, and I find this to be a very subjective role. So the things a manager will do will vary slightly person to person. But basically one of the main advantages to having a manager, especially someone who's very experienced in the music industry, they'll actually help you get to where you want to go. This will give you more time to focus on your music, which of course is a very important part about being in a band, and the first thing you need to nail before you do literally anything else. If they're experienced, they'll make sure you fall in the fewest pitfalls as possible, which is very fucking good. If you're going it alone and you haven't watched my videos, then you might make a few mistakes, hopefully not mistakes big enough to debilitate you. A manager who has experience is most likely someone who's been in the industry for a very long time. Either an artist, someone who runs a label, or even just a really involved booking agent. These people are a wealth of knowledge and will oftentimes make sure your band is pointed in the right direction. This, in my opinion, is the most important or valuable role of a third-party manager. The rest of the things a manager can do, I'm basically telling you to stop being a lazy prick and do it yourself. Or get someone in your band who can do it. I will say this right now, if you're in a band and you get your mate who has just about as much knowledge of the music industry as you to manage your band, you're a few sandwiches short of a full picnic. That's literally an ego trip, or they have guilted you into doing it, in which case I feel very sorry for you, but you have to go break up with them right now. Tell them it's not me, it's you. It is 100% in your best interest to learn everything you possibly can and be your own manager, at least early on in your career. Unless you've found someone who's an absolute G, who has a wealth of knowledge, who is happy to act kind of like as a mentor, I wouldn't think it's justified in you paying the fee, at least early on. The only time I would recommend getting a third-party manager is if you literally can't be asked doing it yourself, which is either because you are a really big band or you're a goose. There are exceptions to this pretty brutal rule, however. Now, I think I've met a total of 5 managers on my time on this earth that A, really know what they're doing and provide incredible value for their bands, and B, work in tandem with the band that's basically already managing themselves to help provide them opportunities that wouldn't be otherwise available on their own. But good luck finding one of those managers. If you're doing something right, they'll probably just find you. For anything else, a manager usually performs any of, but not all of these roles. Merch tracking and ordering and reordering for when you kill it more than you thought you would on tour. Writing grant applications for your band, to which you need to be doing every opportunity that you get. More on this in another video. Relationship building by going to industry events, talking to people like label managers, shouting lines to booking agents in the bathroom. All really important and professional practices that a manager might do to help your band get ahead and just make sure you're in the minds of the people that you want to impress. They will also help form the actual working relationships with these people. People like who you sell your merch through, where you get your merch produced, what booking agent you should work with, and so on. Basically doing all the tedious legwork back and forth tasks. Helping plan your trajectory and even your independent music release schedules, making sure you're not clashing with any other big names out there in the industry. And basically just using their wealth of knowledge to make sure that you succeed the best you possibly can on your release. Managers will generally understand your vision of where you're at and where you want to go and help you get there. Now, there's like an endless list of rudimentary tasks that a manager may or may not do, which I'm not going to list, but basically everything I've just listed are things that you can do on your own. Now, managers, they aren't gatekeepers like, say, a label or a booking agent or a festival runner are. They're people that succeed when you succeed. They generally take a percentage, so much like a label. The better you do, the better they do. Now, it is important to make crystal clear, I am not shit-talking all the great third-party managers out there that want the best for their bands and work their asses off and get basically no thanks. I am shit-talking the people in bands right now who could be doing this stuff but aren't, because they aren't willing to make the right sacrifices or put in the legwork. Your band will most likely be at a disadvantage if you give this role to somebody else for any prolonged period of time, especially when you're starting out. This is just the sort of stuff you need to learn how to do on your own so you can learn how to run your own enterprise. If you take this role on your own, you will save some money and you'll be able to be personally responsible for your band's success or demise. Now, how fun is that? I have outlined the best way to get this kind of knowledge, like that knowledge you don't have, in a previous video, which I will link below. But to condense it, basically have no ego and go out there in the industry and ask for the help of people that you respect, that you look up to, that have experience in this industry. Most of what I have learned has come from making my own mistakes, and the other has been going to seek the counsel of others in the industry. Most of the time, these people are more than willing to give you a leg up. Listen to what they have to say, be thankful, and think really long and hard about what you do with that information. You'll find that in no time you'll start to put these puzzle pieces together, and then you'll get that aha moment of what it is to actually be a manager. Talk to other bands that self-manage, maybe even ask a manager that you know who is managing other bands for some advice, but if they're a manager that actually would probably want to manage you, maybe don't ask them. No one likes to work for free. A few things you can do straight up. If you want to be your band's manager, lead by example. Let's say you're not the person to usually stick your hand up for these kinds of leadership roles in your band. That's fine. You can literally start today by taking ownership of what you can. If it's a fair band, you should already have access to all the socials, streaming, and YouTube. Start gathering all your statistics and do up a spreadsheet and start incrementally counting how things are going every 6 months. Go to your Big Cartel, your Bandcamp, print out the sales report and go through and find out what merch items have sold the best and what sizes, so on. Start being proactive and then just start presenting your band with information that's going to help them succeed. After a while of doing stuff like this, you can basically come to them and say, look guys, with all the information I've been gathering, with all the stuff I know now, I think I'd like to start managing our band. It can potentially be a bit of a hard conversation to have, especially if you've got that hard-headed douchebag in your band who wants to do everything but also nothing at the same time. But basically, if you got yourself a nice little resume of things that you've done, you can present it to your band and kind of back yourself with some evidence. Say if Jimbo in your band goes, nah, fuck that dude, we can all do that, we don't need one person to do it, then say, awesome dude, that's great, that's something we really need to have done. So are you going to be the one to do it? We really need someone to track our socials, to track our sales, see how everything's going. Is that going to be you, Jimbo, or are you just going to keep smoking cones? Take charge. I mean, if you've put in the legwork, then there's no reason you shouldn't be the manager. Make sure your band knows it's not about like an ego trip over having some control, but it's basically because you want your band to succeed. And hopefully you'll have no problems. If you do, good luck. I think the answer to whether or not you need a third-party manager is unfortunately still somewhat of a subjective one. If you've made it this far through my video or you've watched like any of my other videos, I imagine you get a kick out of being the one to make sure you are in control of the trajectory of your band's success, to which I calmly place a hand on your shoulder and say, nice. Now look, they say management is a thankless job, and to the most part, it most certainly is. But the satisfaction of one of your brothers or sisters in the band saying to you, good job, that idea really panned out well, is like all your Christmas, birthdays, orgasms, and best shits rolled into one. And I find the more control you have over your band internally, the more everything else in your life starts to align with your goals for success, whatever they may be. I believe you've got to be in it to win it in this game, and you're going to be in the red for literal fucking years. Before you ever turn a profit, before you ever play the kind of shows you want to play, before you ever have the fans you imagined you'd have. That kind of outcome takes a lot of dedication, and I find managing your own band makes it feel like less of a side hustle and more the outcome of all your hopes and dreams. I also find it really good to have someone in the band absolutely breaking their backs in order to try and help everyone succeed. It helps inspire everybody else to take on more responsibility for themselves. Now I guess like the last question is, if you're gonna manage internally, who should be the one in your band to manage? Before you start having that conversation as to who's taking on that role, you need to work out what your band's idea of a manager is. To me, a manager is not a boss. Your band should realistically be a partnership of equal parts. So if you're a 5-piece, your say still counts for 20%, even if you are the manager. That's just my personal opinion. If you're some megalomaniac or worse, a cop, you're not fit to be the band's manager. Whoever the manager is, they need to have a thick skin and not much of an ego, or at least take a heroic dose every once in a while to keep your ego in check.
If you don't know what that is, don't worry, it'll find you. My suggestion as to who the manager should be in your band is probably someone who doesn't write the music, someone who has the least amount on their plate as of right now, and is willing to put the band before everything else, and is really just open to learning and suggestion. It really is a fucking soul-crushing job with little reward, at least initially, but as you can probably imagine by now, it's integral to your band's success. Again, if you're the only one in your band watching this video, that probably means you. But if you're the one that's like writing all the music, you're doing all the social media, all the graphic designs, you should probably try and find someone else in the band to do this role. Or delegate. Like, you don't have to make it a massive ego trip. You don't have to do literally everything yourself. You can delegate tasks to different members of the band depending on what they're willing to do. If they've all got the same aspirations you have, they should be more than willing to help. Have someone in your band do the tax, have someone in your band post the merch, have someone in your band write the grant applications. Delegate, it's fine. Have someone out until 3 AM making poor life decisions to build industry relationships. It doesn't all have to fall on one person. At the end of the day, any job that you take on in the band should be something that you have the energy to fully commit to. If you're buckling under the pressure and there's no one else in your band to do those roles, then maybe it is time to look at outsourcing the position of manager. Otherwise, get off your ass and do it yourself. You'll have a lot more fun that way, you'll learn a lot more, and your band is more likely to succeed. Stay hungry, stay humble, and hustle until your mum gets off your back about getting a real job.